Hi, Cheryl, and a big welcome to the Recruitment, Marketing and Sales podcast. It's lovely to have you as a guest. So thank you for your time today.
Thank you, Sharon.
Now, there is a lot that we're going to be talking about today. And I guess being really honest, actually, I'm going to be asking questions and I'm going to get you to do a lot of talking because you've got such experience that we want to tap into and share with listeners. But before we dive into that whole world of how do you recruit amazing recruiting talent, maybe you could just share, what has led you to, doing what you're doing today, with GSR2R and everything else that you're doing, because you have been around the industry in a really positive way for a few years.
Are you saying I'm old, Sharon?
Not at all.
Thank you for having me, and it's really lovely to be here. And I was just thinking when I was coming to the meeting today that it was 15 years ago we met, and
15
we
years,
started our
wow.
relationship we started our relationship because you've taught us how to market ourselves, basically, and to be able to, I feel, in Rec to Rec, be one of the first to brand ourselves over many months directly to candidates. So thank you for that. I'm really excited to be here. I want to share as much information as I can because I know this subject is something that all recruiters have to do to be able to grow. And I see the good and the pain because of that on a daily basis. And I think sort of asking why we do it, why, 23 years I've had GSR2R actually, done Rec to Rec, it's a long time.
It is a long time.
I think it is a long time, isn't it? And I think what comes from that is, seeing people get their hiring strategies right and watching what snowballs because of that is really one of the things that we really enjoy in GSR2R. So obviously we make placements like everybody else in recruitment, but I truly believe our placements are the foundation, really, of how companies grow, because recruiters make a difference, to your culture, your bottom line, how many clients, candidates you can bring on. They're fundamentally part of your success. Your success, really. So I think that's the driver after all this time. I mean, just to go backwards, at GSR2R, we do two things, actually. We obviously recruit recruiters, mainly sort of 4 years experience plus. So we're not a junior recruitment business.
No.
We go out, we headhunt, we build relationships with these people. And also about 5 years ago, I personally started delivering sort of bespoke training, masterclasses to recruitment businesses that wanted to get ahead and do their hires themselves. So I go into the business, have a look at what's going on, what's good, what needs to be put in place for them to be successful. And I've really enjoyed watching recruiters just be able to do that when it's been such a struggle for them for such a long time.
Yeah. So
we offer the two services. The Rec to Rec service actually is London-based. We have clients internationally because our clients in London have grown there.
Yeah.
But with the masterclasses and really helping people empower themselves to attract high performers, that's been all over the UK and Europe based as well.
Yeah. And I guess, I'm guessing that's evolved because you are very sort of like focused on London from a Rec to Rec point of view. But I know that you were super keen to actually share your experience and expertise a bit more widely, and the masterclass allows you to do that, doesn't it? So
absolutely. I think one of the things actually I can tell you how it started. I got a recommendation from a lady who owned a business in Cambridge, and she called me up and I said, look, we just can't take you on in Cambridge. It's not our business model. And she was so passionate about getting it right. I just, on the call, said, let me come and teach you how to do it.
Right.
And I watched her just within a day together, put our processes and methodologies in place and just watched how her business grew. And we obviously can't recruit for everybody.
No.
But we can talk to them about how we can empower them to do it themselves. So yeah.
Fantastic. So let's kind of like tap into some of this amazing expertise. And if you think about the market today, there so much has happened over the last few years, hasn't it? And the market is continuing to be quite dynamic, and it's evolving, and it's a roller coaster. I mean, from your experience as a rec to rec, working with recruitment organisations every day, how are you seeing the market at the moment?
That's a really good question, actually, Sharon. And I think when we talk about the market, I want to split it into two things, if that's okay. And that's recruitment companies are recruiting, and then, of course, the recruiters, and if they're looking for a new job. And I think if we take the recruiters first, the really good news is they are moving. And I think that probably might be a shock to some people because they find it so hard to get them. But, we've generated recruiters. I personally still recruit recruiters. I've recruited, I think, about over 2,000 in my time, and I'm still doing it today. I think people definitely are in the mindset that they call us up and say, "Oh, it's just impossible." Well, clearly it's not impossible. We're in business.
Yeah.
So candidates are moving, and I think if we go back, COVID gave candidates, when they came out of it, a sense of confidence I haven't seen before around being able to move from one company to another.
Yeah.
And we've seen more, say, 300 to 500k billers, which are like the elite, the best in recruitment, move in the last 3 years than we have in the last 10. So if you have, really amazing people, and I think companies are shocked that they're moving because they think they've locked those people in for life.
Yeah, I mean, basically. I was going to say, what are some of the reasons why, you've seen that level of movement in that real, they are the cream of the cream, aren't they?
Absolutely. And such a short amount of time for it to happen as well.
Yeah.
Look, I could list lots of reasons, but I think recruiters, stayed in their companies when they were unhappy because they liked their clients, or they were earning good money, or they really liked their colleagues, and something kept them. And also, Sharon, the fear of starting again. Because no matter, even if you're walking into another hot desk, you've got to rebuild your brands, and that kept them where they are.
Yeah.
But I think COVID gave them the confidence to actually think, my personal happiness is more important than all of those things. Right. And that's a word, that's really important in life, but we never really heard it. Like, people would call up about money or better leadership or, want to work in a different sector. But the word we're hearing more and more on the first call we make is, I just want to be happy, which, people might think, gosh, that sounds even a little bit like wet. We're recruiters, right? But they want it all, basically. And happiness comes in such different form for so many different people. Yeah. So I think COVID gave them the confidence and a big shift for that to happen. I mean, I definitely like to say, we have lots of methodologies going on in recruitment at GSR2R to contact and be in touch with these candidates. But that shift had to happen for the amount of people that we've seen. Right. Yeah. So I think there's some confidence in candidates, basically. Yeah. When it comes to companies, what's happening right now? Look, I think we need to look over the last 3 years, really, because we all went through COVID together. We did. 2001 for everybody was just this absolutely, unprecedented. Nobody could have known how busy that year was going to be. Definitely for our clients, I was talking to people who were having record months, record quarters, candidates were having record months. It was amazing. And through that, there was a huge amount of growth. So my companies, grew in their normal teams. They grew in different sectors. They added to their companies, which also brought, by the way, a lot of opportunity for senior people in recruitment to leave for bigger roles, which maybe we hadn't seen pre-COVID because there was so much growth. Yeah. And again, in 2002, companies, went forward. They were still trying to bring people in. And then I think at the end of last year, which matches what was happening on the news, you know, people became a little bit more cautious. There was still very much key hires going on. Mm. There was still growth into what they thought were emerging markets.
Yeah.
But I think the absolute panic recruiting had started to finish.
Right.
And then the beginning of this year, well, we all thought we were going into recession. So, you know, there was a little bit of caution. But actually, talking to my clients in the last 2 weeks, they've just seen job numbers really come back. Right. So, but we've also been told that our economy grew in January. I mean, tiny, but still it's positive.
Yeah.
We don't have a threat of recession right now.
Yeah.
So our market does sort of mirror slightly what's going on the news. However, Sharon, I know we spoke at the beginning of the week about a report the BBC came out saying that although job numbers are slightly declining, they're still massively up pre-COVID.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think one of the challenges there are we looking to grow from 2021 to 22 when we were in a very crazy market, or are we benchmarking ourselves from actually we were bumbling along the line, you know, from where we weren't we going to go into a recession before we went into COVID. So I think it's strong, you know, but people are being a bit more key hires. This is where we need people.
Right.
I think the thing to mention as well, key hires, I think one of the things probably to mention, which I've never seen in my career before, is that I've seen some redundancies from the tech and media sector in recruitment. Yeah. And since, you know, we started that market maybe 15 years ago at GSR2R, it's just always grown. But last year, I felt there was some redundancies in that market.
Yeah.
Not, of course, 300 to 500k pillars, but maybe people that have gone into the market at a junior level.
Yeah.
So, so I would there's quite a lot of information there. I'd say the good news is candidates are moving. Yeah. And I would say companies are recruiting, but there's no panic recruiting anymore.
No. I mean, and just, I guess, taking that, you know, what you were saying about, you know, there are a lot of companies that that have really grown and, you know, have been successful recruiting. And then, you know, you were saying that, and then there are, you know, you come across many people that said, well, it's just a nightmare. You know, we just can't get anybody. What do you think then are some of the differences, you know, between organisations who clearly are have been successful recruiting and, you know, really fueling their own growth versus those that, you know, really are tearing their hair out and saying, look, you know, we're struggling, we just can't get quality people. I mean, what's the difference?
Yeah. I think actually, Sharon, so just thinking about that for you, I'd like to talk about that again in 2 bits, if that's okay. One, coming out of COVID, what did people do quickly? Because again, I think that was a time when everybody was recruiting and, you know, candidates got 5 or 6 offers to think about. Yeah. And then I guess there's just genuinely what do people have to do consistently to make sure that they get good recruiters in all markets, really. Yeah. I think nobody will be shocked if I talk about the fact that people threw money at the situation. Yeah. I think everyone listening, if they were recruiting recruiters, would have heard some stories about that, and my clients were no different. You know, there were people who we would say to the candidate, we think in this market, you know, you can get a 20% uplift, and our clients were giving them 30 to 50 without us asking them.
Gosh.
Really. I mean, I've never worked in a market where that happened.
Yeah.
Outstanding. Coming out of 2008 recession, we definitely saw an uplift in salaries then, but nothing like this was.
Like this one, no.
But then I don't think we saw our clients come back so quickly.
No, and I guess, you know, that there was, you know, the reality was that, you know, and not just our industry, but in many industries that, you know, there were a lot of redundancies made. You know, yes, furlough can really help, but a lot of people did actually, you know, make a lot of their talent redundant. And so when the bounce back kicked, it was like, oh my God, we need all these people back.
Absolutely. I think actually on that point, Sharon, 3 things happened in COVID. People left. They left the industry. I mean, that was huge.
Yeah.
Huge. At one point, we throughout all of COVID, we surveyed our candidate and client database to keep in touch with how they were feeling.
Yeah.
And at one point, 51% of 10,000 recruiters told us they were trying to leave the industry.
Half. Crikey. I know a lot of people believe it, but that's significant. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think that many left, but when we were sort of June, July 2020, they were trying. Then I think, most recruiters lost 10 to 20% of their staff to other companies.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, of course, people made people redundant or let them go. So yeah, you're right. When the job numbers came back, it was almost a panic situation. And that's why they threw money at it. And we saw sign-on bonuses, guarantees, enhanced commission structures as the norm rather than occasionally.
Yeah.
What was interesting though was even though people were throwing money at it, our candidates had moved into a situation where yes, money was important, but also so was work-life balance and well-being.
Yeah.
So the people that increased all their offers only still got the best candidates if they put everything else in place as well.
Right. So it wasn't just all about money.
No. It's what the clients could do very quickly.
Yeah.
But I didn't, like when I was negotiating contracts and I was giving these good offers, and of course, can't believe that I'm about to give this to you. Sometimes instead of thank you, you would get, but what about my working from home? Because that was equally important.
Yeah. Interesting.
And if there's anyone out there at the moment thinking, well, I can't throw money at the situation because sometimes it's not business sense. We put a poll out on LinkedIn. I think we got about 1,500 people come back saying what would be more important, work-life balance or money. 51% was work-life balance.
Wow.
So if you're thinking, what can I do? Sorting out your benefits and work-life balance package so it's actually above what other people give. Will also help you at this stage really attract good people.
Yeah. So those that are struggling, it's not necessarily just around, perhaps not being able to offer those high level salaries. It is that whole package, and often actually the rest of the package can sometimes outweigh, that salary. I guess, for you and the people that you're working with, if someone, perhaps doesn't have the same level hike up in salary. I know everybody's kind of looking for, pay rises because of cost of living and everything. But if you are hybrid working, for example, and you're not spending, 5, 6, 7,000 on a season ticket for the train in the same way, and all the other costs of commuting in and out of London, then you have some leeway around the uplift in salary that you're looking for, don't you?
100%. I mean, and I don't want to say that they don't want the money, but no. It's the whole decision.
It's the whole
There's
package.
Definitely other things. And actually, rarely we do move people on slightly less money because they need a better company. I mean, all recruiters, when they leave, if they're on 50k basic and earning 100 OTE because they're a good recruiter, it's very, very rare that they're going to earn 100k in their next role in the first year because they're going to rebuild their brand. But actually, all recruiters end up going backwards to go forwards anyway.
Yeah.
So when they move, it's never just about the money. It has to be about other things. But we definitely saw the biggest uplift I've ever seen on finances that came to offers. So, Sharon, just to answer your question around what companies doing long term to get good people.
Because I was thinking of what's changed and how does it influence moving forward? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the other thing that happened and why people got people really quickly was I quickly mentioned that we surveyed our candidates constantly. So when we were coming out and the market went crazy, we gave the information to our companies, clients, and we said, right, these are things you need to put in place now to get the best people. And the people that acted the quickest and really put their business in the position of what this new market looked like I feel, got the best people, where lots of recruitment companies were just really keen to get back to how they were.
Right.
Not really maybe thinking about the fact from a recruiter's point of view, we're in a new world now.
Yeah.
And what do we need to do? And I'm just, so they were things like increased holidays.
Right.
Really looking at what your work-life balance would be now. So some of the things that were really popular wasn't just the amount of days in the office, but it was how you work your hours. Because all of a sudden, Sharon, people had dogs and they needed to look after them.
Yes.
Or,
yeah.
You know, if you'd said to me 10 years ago I'd be talking about dogs when I was getting offers, I'd say you were crazy. But I started talking about people needing to be at home for this. And people were used to taking their children to school and picking them up, and they didn't want to stop those kind of lifestyle scenarios.
Yeah.
So a really popular thing that we gave our clients the idea, and of course some come up with themselves to do, was that, you know, if someone works 9 hours a day or 40 hours a week, that you weren't so precious about how they worked them.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, they didn't have to be at their desk 9 till 6 at home.
Yeah.
They could work them in different ways. And a lot of my companies tend to have like core hours, maybe 10 till 3, where they're at work, and then the rest is done in their own time. So
flexible.
We became a more adult business, and that's really the number one thing I think that recruiters wanted.
Right.
So it was how quickly people reacted to this work-life balance, more holidays. Also, we started to place people who live in Manchester and come to London once a month, because
interesting
for the candidate, they could get more money, work for a different kind of business. What they've really enjoyed, the candidates we've moved, is like working on London clients, bigger fees, bigger salaries, etc. So quite a lot of companies that have been open to good talent not being in the office and being able to live elsewhere.
Interesting.
So I think there was like it was a shift towards what's the world going to look like now, rather than let's go back to how we were, but got the best recruiters. I think if you ask me today, things are changing again, actually, Sharon.
In what way?
Yeah, I'm just thinking about it while we're talking. We've had more, like last year, we didn't register one candidate who said to us, I want to go to the office 5 days a week.
That doesn't surprise me.
This year, didn't happen. You know, we'd always say, what would you like your work-life balance to be? And you know, it was on the as much as possible out of work. But this year, I would say 10% of our candidates that we're working on, and we place 80% of people that we work on, so it's a high percentage, are asking to go in the office 5 days a week. And of course, now we're saying we're not sure we can do that, because not all our clients have that ability. But there's a slight shift. There's a slight shift to coming back in the office. I know from conversations I've had that my clients are having a bit of a headache at the moment, because maybe they've got underperformers that need to work with performers to be able to learn. And they've got all their performers doing really well at home and loving it. And they want to bring in either new people or underperformers, or maybe they're doing a graduate scheme. They want to mix them to you know, build that all-important culture and for people to learn from. And I know that's a headache, because it's hard to get people in once they're doing well at home. But businesses have got to grow. And, you know, that's probably, you know, out of my, what's the word, like, it's above my paycheck to talk about that, really. Sharon. I know that it's happening, and you know, they're calling me saying, what are people saying? How are we going to incentivize them? How are we going to get them back in? I think it's tough.
It's interesting. You know, literally on Wednesday, Cheryl, I was reading an article And it was the communication that Mark Zuckerberg has sent out to, Facebook employees this week and Meta employees, should I say, announcing, unfortunately, kind of more redundancies in the tech space. And part of his communication was around a lot of research they've been doing on hybrid working. And he said, it is very clear to them that, when people are new to Meta, new into roles within Meta, that there is significant value in the first, let's say, 12, 18 months of that new role and that being new to the business, that the people that are in the office collaborating, working with experienced people and all that, that the performance and the development of them is measurably different to people who are remote. And so he's got a very strong message to people saying that they're going to do more research around hybrid working. And his message was to find as many ways as you can to collaborate one-on-one, face-to-face. Yeah. So there's a real strong message there, isn't there? And I'm sure, work habits absolutely have changed, but I think we're probably going to see an ongoing evolution of it, to find some common ground between what as individuals we want and what our employees want. Because if not, we're heading for a bit of a standoff.
I totally agree with you, Sharon. I totally agree with what he's saying as well. I think if you take it into two different bits, if we're looking at attraction, let's get these recruiters in our business.
Yeah.
Then everything I'm telling you regarding the well-being is really important. And also, you can hire, what people call like plug in and play. They do the market you do. They're a high performer. They know what they're doing, and you can give them this work-life balance.
Yeah.
On the other hand, we're trying to build a team and a culture and share information without these real superstars being part of being in the office. And you're totally right. Like, you've got attraction and you've got retention. So for the attraction, you need to offer great well-being, but for retention, you need people to feel like they're part of a culture and they're doing well.
Yeah.
One of the things I think we've advised our clients to do is they've actually got to get better at culture and collaboration online.
Right.
Because a lot of people we place, I've got a lovely girl actually that I personally placed recently, and she doesn't live in London, and she loves her business. She comes once a month, but they don't talk to her weekly online. And I think if you think about, and that's a problem for her, by the way, if you think about in COVID, we did exercise classes together online. Yeah. We had coffee catch-ups to make sure we were all okay. We were doing bingo. We had like wine tasting where I sent everybody wine tasting, and we were brilliant at it.
Yeah.
And actually the forefront, what was coming up was, are these people okay? And we could do what we did in the office online. Yes, as people have got really busy and people are doing lots of things, we're not as great.
Making the effort.
Wrote a really big article in 2001 about, can your managers or leaders lead or manage in today's market? Because you don't have people in front of you, and it's a different thing to be able to engage and lead on a virtual world. And I do have clients, Sharon, who completely went virtual from 5 days a week to going completely virtual. We both know a great company that you introduced me to and I ran a masterclass with, and they've done their own internal recruitment, who did that. And it's been the best thing they've ever done.
Yeah.
But looking at their model, they do the same online, where as we've got busier, the less we probably connect and do it. So I think, the importance of face-to-face is really up there. I totally agree. And I see all the benefits. But I think companies could look at what they're doing virtually before they think that's not working.
Okay. Yeah.
I think that's definitely slipped a bit.
Yeah, I guess just kind of like, expanding on that a little bit in terms of, what are candidates, looking for? So there's that flexibility of working. They want to feel part of something. Obviously, the person that's not getting any contact between the monthly office visits is suffering because of it in some way. So, I mean, what would you say candidates are looking for from employers today, other than that flexible? Just in summary.
Yeah, well, I think Generation Z are coming into our marketplace right now, and they're really challenging what they want from a career, and it's really challenging recruitment businesses at the moment. So I think, for us recruiting with experienced recruiters, it's probably a little bit different to that generation. We can talk about that. I mean, that's a big subject actually, and something that's happening, as I said, right now. I think if we take away well-being and we take away finances, I think the things that recruiters really want is they want to feel valued. Mm-hmm. The number one reason we see people is because they don't feel valued.
Yeah.
And that's more the recognition, the thank you, the smaller things, which again, Sharon, if you're not in the office, it may not happen as much.
No. Yeah.
I think, and these are like the softer things that maybe people haven't thought about. Having a voice is really important to recruiters. You hire these people that are commercially bright, and they think outside the box, and they can do everything right for their candidates and clients, and they can put really good deals together. They want to then take that into their business life as well. And I think their companies want their companies to utilize that and grow and support that. And that could be that they, they have a particular subject that these people get together and talk about, or it could be that, they have a networking group where they head up something else. But I definitely think recruiters want to do more than recruit,
Right.
Because picking up the phone these days probably isn't what we're all about. And I think they've got to build a brand, and that brand might be that they're holding round tables, or they're doing networking, or they're really good at writing blogs or posts. But I think we've gone away from being, I want to be told what to do, and I'll just go off and do it.
Right. Yeah.
Versus what needs to happen, and how are you going to support and empower me to let me go and happen. Let me go and do that. Sorry.
Yeah.
And I think the last thing, Sharon, would be they want the right tools to do the job these days. Because again, I definitely feel that we do 30% more than we did 10 years ago for our clients and candidates, which is really enjoyable. But with that comes the fact that we need good social media from people like yourself, and we need there's some really good tech that we use, and it's that they want to be supported by those things. And they want, and I guess another word for that, Sharon, is they want companies to be current. What are they doing in today's marketplace to be different? And even if they're doing super well, what's going to be next?
Yes. It's interesting, just thinking, I was having a conversation last week with somebody, and even, having tech, and also having access to the fact that your company are investing in marketing, so that, that the marketing is there to help, yes, you want to be developing your own personal brand, but you want to have a company that's got a brand, that's out there in the market, that's got, things happening in the background, and resources that you can tap into to help and support, make your job easier. And I was chatting with someone who had come from an organisation that had that, had moved, for, a senior position to an organisation that doesn't have that. And there are plans over time to introduce kind of like marketing, but it's interesting the difference that individual is noticing and the impact that's having. So
totally
it's really looking at that much broader, I guess business support package in a way, isn't it, that will enable someone to be empowered and to take their initiative and really draw on their strengths and everything. So it's interesting.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think, Sharon, this is a really good topic for smaller companies who are thinking, oh my gosh, like how do I get these great recruiters when there's so many like bigger companies out there?
Yeah.
But what we find is that actually the smaller companies, it's easier for them to have these tools because they've got to buy it for 10 or 15 people, not 150 people.
Yeah.
So actually, having those kind of things in place make a real difference. And I know that although, we have everything in place to attract candidates, marketing is so important because we used to, 10 years ago, just have people who called people up and headhunted them at their desk, basically. There's probably people on here think that, gosh, did that ever really happen? But we did, and we got really good success from that. But now they're like, why aren't you linking me in? And they put the phone down. It's like, so we have to let people know what we do and how great we are at it, as well. Sorry, we have to give that over written as well as we would if we were talking. I found that a hugely challenging thing to do when that happened, and hence why it was great we met you, Sharon, because I was, really confident in what I did, but I hated writing long emails, and all of a sudden I had to learn to do that. So a company that embraces that, I think, and has those tools is really, really important for people.
Yeah. And so, I think over the years, you will have seen so many, I guess, mistakes that companies make, and I guess also, distilled down, and certainly something that you share in the masterclasses that you're doing. If you are a smaller business and business of any size in a way, and you really want to put together a really concrete, effective process in your business for generating your own talent, what would you say are the things that people could do so they avoid any of the mistakes that you've seen time and time again happen?
Okay, great. It's a really good question. Can I just say the biggest mistake that I see happen? And actually it comes down to hiring rather than attraction. And that's that I talk to people all the time, and I really know that they hire on their guts rather than fact. Like they've got a great personality, or I really felt this, or they remind me of their highest biller. Like it's all that amazing feeling.
Right.
Rather than I've really checked their skill set and I know it's exactly what we need.
Right.
Or, in the interview process, we went through every motivator, and I know they're going to, even if they don't have the skills, they're coming into work every day and they're going to really try.
Yeah.
Or their value system sit in our value system. Because what happens when you don't get that interview piece right and you hire somebody that you're really excited about is, at best they're a low performer. At worst, they really disrupt your culture.
Right.
And then I see people go through pain for years with these people. I think the interview structure for me is really important. But I guess people want to know as well, Sharon, how do they get these people through the door? So
yes, absolutely.
So if I gave over a quick synopsis, we call our talent circle of attraction that you need strategy, branding, and attraction. Now, interestingly, I've said attraction third, but you need branding and strategy in place before you can attract. Everybody goes straight to attraction.
Yeah.
This would be my opinion why it doesn't work.
Yeah.
So you need a strategy like you have for your BD, for your clients, and you have for your candidate generation internally. about how you're going to go out and get these recruiters. You need to know who's going to be involved, who's the best person to do this for you. You need to know not just what are you looking for, but this is my biggest tip. What's that recruiter going to want from you?
Yeah.
Like the person you actually want to hire, do you have everything in place right now for that person to want to come to you? Right. Because if what you offer isn't what they want, you're not going to get off the starting
You're not going to
blocks,
get it. No.
So that's really where you need to sit down and think about it. And I think, Sharon, it's where the problem with Generation Z is coming in, because people are going out to them and then expecting them to want what millennials wanted.
What they've got. Yeah.
And there's a real mixed match there. Yeah. So they could just, when I work with clients on this, sometimes I tweak 3 of their benefits and then that's it. They start to get people. It can be that quick, basically. Yeah. So once you know what your offering is, and we've just talked about this, it's really important to have your branding in place.
Yeah.
Because when you go to attraction and you put out an advert or you send a LinkedIn message, they actually go straight to check you out. What do you look like? What do they feel? What can they gain knowledge on about you as a business?
Yeah.
And you basically, what they see is their perception. So if you send them a great message, but they log on your website and you've got no work for us page, worse for me, you've got one that just says we're hiring, give us a call. Yeah. Or they look on your LinkedIn and there's nothing about hiring recruiters, or your advert just lists everything you want that recruiter to do for you. By the way, all recruiters know that's what the job is, not what they're interested in seeing.
Yeah.
Then, they're like, I know what to do. Then they're not going to call you. They're not going to get back to you because you're not highlighting who you are. So your branding has to give over what you offer, basically, and why people work for you. If you think in today's market, if you take your team out for lunch and you say we're going to a certain restaurant, the time you've gone there, they've all Googled the restaurant, they've looked to see what everybody thinks, and they've decided what they're eating. Like, this blows my brain. It blows my brain. There's no element of just let's sit down and see what happens. And actually, this is happening in the job market. You're putting out an advert, you're sending something through attraction, and they're looking at you. So actually, you have to take time with your branding. It's really important. And I know, obviously, it's your expertise, Sharon. I only teach it from recruiting a recruiter's point of view. Yeah. But there's certain things that recruiters definitely want to hear and see to think, I want to go there. Talk to that business.
Yeah. So important.
So important. So once you've got your branding and strategy and branding together, then you can attract. And you want to have as many attraction methods going on as possible. Yeah. Calling a rec to rec is brilliant. Of course, I'm going to be very favourable over people doing that. Yeah. But it shouldn't be your only method. Yeah. And calling a rec to rec, you still need your branding there, because we can only talk to them. They're going to do their own research. They're going to do their own things. Yeah. Absolutely. So, you want to have your quick wins, your network, people that work for you already, who you can refer through. Do you know what? I'm going to say adverts don't really work, but I would say every masterclass I've done have got somebody through an advert once we've learned to rewrite them. So they'll get you somebody, but you can't rely on just those. Yes. Yeah. And then you go to your longer term strategy, Sharon, of like your LinkedIn messages, but again, we need to talk about how that works, because one LinkedIn message is going to get lost with the other 30 they got that week. Absolutely. By the way, that's how many. Yeah. It's really interesting. Look at how you stand out. Yeah. And and that's interesting to talk about standing out, because I think some think that as I'm listening to you, I think, do you know what you're describing is absolutely no different than what we experience when we are talking about, general marketing. And that is that people are excited. They want to get their brand out there. So they move into action, implementing activities, which is very much like your attraction piece, right? But the reality is that those strategies that they're implementing
they will work so much more effectively when the foundations are in place, like who you're marketing to, what's your value proposition, what your message is, right? And that can get skipped over because we're so eager to get into action to get a result. And actually what you're saying is, don't jump into action on attraction, do the strategy bit, the branding bit, which is the foundation pieces, because actually they will make such a massive difference to the attraction when you then go to attraction. And it is no different, is it? So
it's just 100%. And it was a question, if I could give you give people that are listening a tip when you talk about the branding piece, is that, think about your audience, because recruiters are like outgoing, I said before, commercially bright, we're good communicators. So to all of a sudden write, I've got this opportunity to be a recruiter and build a desk, they're turning off, it's not exciting to them. Talk in the language that they would use, basically.
Yes.
And get them excited about what you're doing, because I'm pretty sure all companies I meet are excited about what they're doing.
Yeah.
So get out there and talk about it. It has to be a different language of how you're attracting candidates and clients to your business.
Yeah.
So sorry, Cheryl, I just want to end by saying, so that's what we call the attraction piece. But of course, then you've got to keep them, right? Because you've now spent the money getting them through the door. And we believe to make sure you retain them, two things need to happen. One, your interview process needs to be there to make sure that they actually are the people that you want. And they actually, even if they can't do the job now, they have all the foundations to want to do the job. Wanting to do the job is super important. Yeah. And I would say, although we run masterclasses 90% in clients that we don't do rec to rec for, the biggest thing I've done masterclass wise for the clients we do rec to rec for is I've gone in and rewritten their interview structure. Right. I say the word rewritten, Sharon. They don't have one written. I've gone in and written their
introduced one
for them. I've introduced one, because they just bring people in and they all say the same thing, and they all get that great feeling. But you need to have one that the candidate enjoys and it's pleasing, and you do sell your business. Yeah. But you also really need to know what you're getting when you hire that person, and that's totally possible. Yeah. And then the second thing is your onboarding. Again, isn't always there in recruitment, especially if you're taking more senior hires. The research on onboarding is they are 72% likely to stay longer. And they talk about over 3 years, if your onboarding goes right through to 6 months, and your 52% of your hires are more likely to work harder for the business if they have an onboarding structure that really embeds the values, the culture, the vision, and why they're there. And actually, I hope you don't mind, Sharon, but just going back to a couple of things we talked about today about attracting recruiters, two things I haven't said that's really important. Why they're there, their vision, and what difference they make to that business is becoming more and more important to people. Because they're not just walking into a business anymore thinking, I'm going to earn money and that's it. What is this business doing, and what do I play in it? And does that fulfill me? It comes back to that word happy that I used at the beginning. Yeah. And within that comes social responsibility to the wider world. What are we doing? Right. Do we have a green policy? Are we environmentally friendly? What charities are we supporting? People love that. And I think something that people are talking about more and more is Corp B. I don't know if you know this, but it's like a certificate you get as a business.
I was talking with a client about Corp B, ESG, which is kind of like what you're talking about, isn't it? That old corporate social.
I don't think it's easy to get. Yeah, I don't think it's easy to get, Sharon. And I haven't had someone come to me yet and say, I want a business that's got it. But when someone's in 4 or 5 processes and a company mentions it, it sort of puts them to the top of the list.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah. It's something that I feel really makes a difference. Yeah.
So sorry to go backwards. But I just
no. And it's a good point, because I last question was, I was going to say to you, what impact do you think this, the corporate social responsibilities, has evolved to the ESG agenda, and literally I was with a client at the beginning of the week, and we were talking about they have a huge focus around ESG, and it's a real big part of their purpose and their vision and everything. And we were talking about actually that there would be value in them perhaps, applying for Corp B status. And I think particularly perhaps with that Gen Z audience, especially.
Exactly what I was going to say.
I think that's probably we will see it becoming, a bigger part of things as is. And perhaps if I could just get you to make, maybe one final comment around this, because I'm really conscious of your time and you've been so generous with it today, is where does, the whole DEI conversation fit in with, what people are looking for and culture and everything else? I guess that's the only thing that we've not, mentioned.
Yeah, of course. It's an interesting one, actually, Sharon. And GSR2R everyone at GSR2R went on a really good course that's actually run by recruiters for recruitment businesses when it comes to D&I. So I would, if any of your listeners want to know about that, definitely send me a message, because I'd highly recommend them. And I think it was a topic that people talked about. And now I just think people think it's standard, as in, where someone 3 years ago would have said to me, D&I is really important to me, I want to make sure they've done this and that. People don't ask for it because they think it should just be there. It should be how people are operating these days. It should be a subject that we're still trying to evolve into. Yeah. However, on the interview process, they might say things like, well, I don't think their D&I is strong enough, or, what are their actual processes to make sure with their clients and candidates that they're upholding that all the time. So it's definitely questionable. I think it's got to be a good 5 years ago that I saw my companies go through that, Sharon, and upskill themselves. And and I feel it's something that everybody wants. It's part of best practice, but I don't feel like it's been. I think the new sort of ESG environment, etc., is what is being singled out. Right. Where I think people just believe that D&I is now part of our world,
which is good.
As of course it should be. Yeah, of course.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And so
so I think.
Go on.
No, it's fine. Sorry.
I was just going to say that we've got lots of different kinds of companies who be listening, and I am sure they probably will go back and listen to this with a pad and a pen in their hand if they've been out walking the dog or running or in the car or something, because there is so many gems that you've shared. But if someone wants to get hold of you, either because they're in central London, and they want to chat to you as a rec to rec, or they're interested in actually learning from you in terms of how they could enhance their internal recruitment process, how do people get in touch with you?
Oh, thank you, Sharon. The company's GSR2R. Obviously, we have a very www.gsr2r.com. My email is just cheryl@gsr2r.com, which is CHERYL at GSR2R.com. Or obviously, please invite me on LinkedIn.
Cheryl LinkedIn.
WING. It'd be great to hear from people. Yeah.
Well, Cheryl, thank you so much. It's really insightful just hearing, all the knowledge from your experience about what's happening in the market and what companies can do to really, put a strategy in place, get their branding right before they start attracting and then, retaining and onboarding people. And I'm sure many people will not have heard of that onboarding research. So that's fantastic. So thank you so much for sharing all your experience with us. And hopefully we'll get a chance to invite you back as well.
See you very soon. Bye, Sharon.
Thanks, Cheryl. Bye now.